Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri here today on our Anything Can Happen Friday, where we bring you the arts and culture side from Malaysia and other ASEAN countries as well. And today I have a lecturer from UiTM who has joined me for a discussion on the performing arts scene in Malaysia, its policy making structures, as well as how we can learn from other European cities. And with me I have Azroz Mohammed. Hello.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us today. And maybe before we start, a little introduction to yourself. What do you do, what do you teach, and how does it work in UiTM?
Okay, alright. So, very quick introduction of myself. As mentioned, my name is Azroz. So, usually people call me Azroz or call me Roy. And I'm currently lecturing in UiTM, Puncak Perdana Campus, Faculty of Film, Theatre and Animations. And the faculty actually consists of 5 departments: the film, theatre, animation, creative writing and management. So I'm under the management department.
Okay.
I'm also the assistant to my what we call head of programming of the management. Right. And I teach most of the management subjects such as fundamental of management, financials, sponsorships, and what we call it, more on the arts laws and stuff like that.
So what you're teaching is actually more on the management side of creative arts. And tell us about what you did for your master's research.
Okay, my master research. I graduated from Pratt Institute, New York, and I did my master's of professional study in arts and cultural management.
Okay.
So my master's thesis is actually talking on the sustainability of it more focused sustainability of public arts.
All right.
And in creative cities, and that time we picked Chicago.
Okay.
So I picked Chicago as my subject of research.
Right. And when it comes to creative, what was your master's in again?
Arts and cultural management.
Arts and cultural management, and there's not many people doing that in Malaysia as well.
I was told when I came back by the ministry that I'm the only one with that master's degree.
Okay.
So I guess I told them, is that make me a subject of expert of that or something
Probably,
like that?
yeah.
Well, there's more room to improve, I guess.
Okay. So when you came back with that master's degree, was it difficult or was it easy for you to find your niche in the current performing arts scene at that time?
I was lucky because when I came back, I straight away attached with UiTM in a way. But then inside me, I'm eager actually to share my knowledge with a lot of art administration, what we call art organization out there.
Okay.
And I love to join them and try to figure out what's went wrong in our industry actually.
Right. And speaking about that, let's move on to the current performing arts scene in Kuala Lumpur. What is your thought on it, and how we can actually, what are the problems that we're facing at the moment?
Tricky question. Okay. That one, at first I would say information. Information, what I call information management, what we call that. Because only art people know what is happening.
Yeah.
But the art scene are not trying to reach out to those who know art. They're trying to reach out who doesn't know art yet. And the information doesn't go to them.
Yeah.
In a way. Maybe I don't know, maybe we can blame the technology, or we can blame the communication is wrong, not there. Or maybe we don't have a hub. We only have Kakisani, that's about it.
Yeah.
Like sharings and stuff. But then, where is the center point? Where is the meeting point?
Okay.
So we are lacking of that. You can find, if you want to especially for tourists, they want to go to a city or a country, they will maybe search for what's the best, and maybe for those art enthusiasts, they will search art scene in Kuala Lumpur, for example.
Yeah.
And then when it will pop up so many websites, so many links, but there is no central link that share everything.
Right.
So the information is not focused. That's what I see.
Right. So you think that's the biggest challenge that we're facing at the moment, that there is no central hub?
No central hub, and then reaching out. Because you can see the artists are doing the marketing themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe some of them do well. Some of those who are really artists inside, they don't know how to do actually marketing. So they will be left out.
Okay.
They will be the one who are like, why nobody come to my show?
Okay.
So if we go on topic, the topic is actually
Yeah.
really long to talk, like what went wrong, what goes out. I want to see, like, there's no art managers out there. There is,
Yeah.
but then where are they? We don't know.
Right. And speaking of that as well, there's actually a lot of performing arts centers in KL. I mean, of course, we have KL PAC, we have Infinity,
PJ Live
we have PJ Live Arts, and I think a lot of DPAC,
Yes.
a lot of different performing arts coming up. Do you think that there should be one center that manages all of this, or it's okay to let them run by themselves? But then, like you said, that means that everything is segregated. It's
True.
in their own places.
I think they should have one actually that manages all this, because like we have a lot of film production companies, but we have one main anchor, which is I think Persatuan Seniman. There's one, the non-profit, and then we have the FINAS
Yeah.
that actually help those regulates all the thing. And VO artists, we have a voiceover guild that actually manages all those VO artists.
Right.
But what about us, the art people, the art managers? What about us?
Right.
So that's where it's not there.
Okay.
The what we call that, the provider is not there. The supply, the resources is there. We are the resources.
Yeah.
But then nobody is taking care of us in a way. We have to
Right.
go out, find ourselves. That's why we have so many freelancers of artists.
Right. But speaking of that, there's a lot of these different performing arts center, but they're also funded by different organizations. Say, we have, of course, Time Derby, which is one of the biggest funders. We have a few other organizations as well. Is it possible for all these people to come together under one umbrella, you think?
It can and it might not happen in the near future, like near time. Because those organizations, they have their own interests. So some might only focuses, if you're a fine art, then I will give money to you. And maybe you are performing arts, but maybe you cater only, let's say you're doing classical. I only support classical dance. You're contemporary, I won't fund you. So there is still organization personal interest in a way.
Okay. And let's move on to the role of policymakers when it comes to performing arts scene, because you were also mentioning earlier that one of the things that we're lacking at the moment, I think in Malaysia, is that policy part. That how is it really helping? Do we have any substantial policies now to sustain the performing arts?
Our policy is the same as our art people. It's everywhere.
It's not freelancing.
It's not centralizing, and it's not focusing on one. And why I say that is the policy that has been done, like how American art policy is done. They have a conference, sort of a convention centers, conference that they invite art peoples, they invite artists, they invite painters, they invite art administrators, they invite government, those people, officers. They sit down and discuss among them what is the best. Because art is for people. It educates people. And it makes people more innovative in a way. So it need input from everyone. Like ours, I think it's lacking because I don't even remember that how those art policy has been done.
Okay.
All I know is the policy is up, and that's about it.
Right. So do you think that there should be more consultation with the artists themselves, or is it okay that it's just done at the top
obviously
level?
You have to discuss with the artists. You are making the policy for them. Like, obviously you cannot cater for everyone, but it should have a general guideline for like almost too easy to follow. Even a upcoming artist can easily follow, that protects them. Because as for now, if you see, I think the human resource department, they don't have a clause for freelancers. How do you get a KWSP if you're freelancers? You don't get protected by what we call insurance. You can't even get it. You
That's
can get your
true.
personal insurance, but not working insurance.
Yeah.
So where is that?
Right. And let's compare maybe Malaysia with the US as well, because you said you were exposed to a lot of different policy making structures in the US. So when you came back, what was the thing that you thought we could work on, or what was the thing that we were gravely missing compared to the US?
One thing I can see there and here, the artists there and here, is they are united.
Okay.
They are united as one, and they are perseverance. They fight for it. Actually, has been a tough fight, tough war for them to get the government to actually recognize them and have a policy out of it. And it's not a one-way street. It's always a two ways.
Yeah.
First of all, I always say, Malaysia government have to, what we call that, recognize creative industry as a mainstream income.
Okay.
Because creative industry in the United States is like one of the biggest contributors. So what about us?
Yeah.
We only focusing on tourism.
Yeah.
But then what about the culture part of it? So that is one. And then us as artists, freelancers, art administrators, we have to unite. Because only by uniting we are strong. Like how we get our Merdeka?
Yeah.
Through unite. We unite and we got it. So how we want to get people to recognize us as a art mover, we have to unite.
Yeah.
Without that, you having your organization there, you have your policies there, so everything there is all scattered around. It's not
Doesn't
strong.
work that way.
The momentum is not there.
And speaking of creative industries, I think that's very interesting, because you suggested that the government should make creative industry as a mainstream income. And I think a lot of people who probably studied performing arts like me wish that that could become a reality.
True.
But speaking of creative industry, if you were to explain it to someone from the government, how would you define that the elements that make up the creative industry in the country?
One, I think, is education first. The education, we have to educate the people in the first place. Second, like I give a very simple example to my student last week, I think. What is public art? And then they say, oh, murals and stuff. I say, no. If you trace back the history, public art starts from colonial stage. Those fountain you see, those statues you see, like all those clock that you see, so those are public art.
Right.
Those are a form of public art. You might call it's an installation art, but it's still public. It's for public.
Right.
So the education is missing. We only have what in school? Drawing. And what else?
Yeah.
That's about it.
Making
but art is not about painting and papers.
Right.
Art is more.
Yeah.
That's where certain schools started pusat kebudayaan. They started to teach dancing, singing, and so on and so forth. It's to generate creativity.
Right.
And from there only, once it's hard to form now, but you have to start from now, that the younger generation, they are being instilled with that knowledge, and eventually by the time maybe after I already like 6 feet under the ground, they will take over the world. Then it might be we might have the creative industry one day, maybe smaller scale, but
right. But maybe you can also explain what do you mean by creative industry. Maybe some of our listeners are not familiar with that term. Yeah.
Creative industry is like really wide scope. People always say creative industry what? Art and design?
Yeah. Exactly.
Film? Animation?
Yeah.
That's about it? No, I said no. Art industry, creative industry, it's all the creative people unite. Even engineers, they have those creative innovators and stuff. And how we define it, maybe we define it by fine art. We define it by architecturing.
Right.
We define it by performing arts. But all this will combine and become a creative industry by itself. Even the graphic designs. Those are arts related.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's where the definition is missing. I think if you took out the creative industry definition by our government, under the DASA creative industry, it's still not strong.
Okay.
The term is not strong. I think even European and American are still searching the right terms for it, because each cities have itself. They come up like Penang. They just wanted to tell themselves to be one of the creative catalysts
Yeah.
of the
Art
jewels
scene.
of poles, the art area, where you can see that it might happen. You know why? The government decided that Penang government decided to spend 100 million
Mm-hmm.
just for the arts,
Yeah.
to revamp the heritage row.
Mm-hmm.
They want it to be known as decorative in creative areas. It will happen because they already have, like just now I was saying, one side which is the government, the other side which is the art people. They are unite
Yeah.
and they are educating it,
Yes.
the publics. So I can foresee that there will happen.
Okay.
They can happen.
And
to
speaking of the creative industry in Malaysia, I think just now you're mentioning briefly about the Dasar creative industry. How is the scope of the creative industry right now in the country, and how much more do we need to grow or expand?
Grow to expand, I'm seeing that we require input from everyone. There's one, but then you can't receive input if the initial DASA is not introduced widely to everyone.
Maybe you can explain a bit about the Dasar itself.
I hope I'm making it correct.
Yeah.
Because how to say the DASA creative industry? Yeah?
As in, what elements does it have right now?
There is a lot of clause in there that I can remember, and because when we form our programming, we actually anchor on the DASA industry creative, and then we use part of it which is on the section which is the performing arts.
Okay.
On the performing arts, but then inside the performing arts there's a lot of rules. You say, for example, contohnya what we call it, seni persembahan adalah seni yang melibatkan da.
Okay.
So it defined as that.
Right.
But then we were fighting, but that is not what it is.
Okay. It's more than that?
It's more than that. But then there is another intellectual argument saying, well, if you want to keep fighting on it, you will never have a proper definition of it. So, how to say, I think...
So it still needs to be expanded much more compared to what we have right now.
It's definitely, because one, our industry is still very young. I can say we are on the infant stage.
Yeah.
US, European, there has been there for like more than a decade, more than that.
Right.
They started way long before.
Yeah.
And we just recently want to start it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we see film, our market is small. So to call ourselves an industry,
even that is a question still.
Yeah.
And just before we take a break, I want to ask, maybe you can give us some examples of successful policy making in performing arts, maybe based on Singapore or other European cities that you're familiar with, and how we can learn from them.
If you say European, I might not really familiar with it, but I know they have a similar model with the US. US adapted from it, which is the percent of the arts.
Okay.
So percent of the arts is actually a policy that done by the government to make sure all constructions, federal building constructions, 1.23%, it depends on the state as well, must go to the arts. Nothing else.
Okay.
It must go to the art. I mean, let's say you have if you're building the third Penang Bridge, for example, if you have that policy, and that project costs 10 million, 1.23% from that 10 million must go to the art. Can only spend for the arts.
Right.
And they have benefit to do that. So it must go. That's why you can see the building especially in Chicago, definitely there is an artwork installed in it.
Oh, okay.
They definitely have something related to art with most of the federal building. Europe as well. They have the percent of the art, but maybe it's called different. But they allocated that into it.
Okay.
Like we have the Malaysian, lama-lama jadi bukit, right?
Yeah.
So if we do that, 1%, imagine we are negara membangun, the developed cities.
Yeah, developing country.
Developing country. Imagine each of the project, 1%.
You just 1%.
Go for the arts. Imagine the funding pool that we have.
Right.
to use it.
It's a very interesting concept,
Yeah.
just baby steps, 1% from each, and in the end you'll have
Yeah.
this huge amount of investment in arts. And what about Singapore? Is there any successful policy making that we can adopt?
I'm
from
not
them?
sure about the Singapore policy, but I'm looking at the initiatives. They are
Okay.
getting those, what we call that, investors, like
Mhm.
big studios coming in.
Yeah.
I think the Warners is also there as well.
Right.
So they are bringing those huge volumes of industries coming in.
Okay.
Even the Transformer, the latest Transformer, I think partial of it is actually rendered in Singapore.
Yeah.
So that are the investment that the country is bringing from the overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And also it generate income for the animators in that country.
That's true.
Illustrator in that countries.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe those sound engineers, managers are there. It actually provide them what we call untuk makan, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we will take a short break, and when we come back, we will discuss more about how art is being valued in Malaysia.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here on your Anything Can Happen Friday, and I'm with Azroz Muhammad from all the way from UiTM, who has joined me today to help me with a discussion on performing arts in Malaysia, policy making, as well as how art is valued in the country. And I think that will be the scope of discussion for this part of the interview. How exactly is art valued or even
True.
perceived in Malaysia? So what do you think, Azroz?
Okay. How art is perceived in this country.
I think we all know the answer to that
Yeah,
question, but
we are-
yeah.
I can say that most of the people devalue art in a way.
Mhm.
They don't appreciate it. They see them, it's just like, nah, it's just another painting on a wall.
Mhm.
It's just another installation disturbing
Yeah.
my in the road or something like that.
Right.
But they don't see there's actually us, the artist people,
Yeah.
trying to reach out to those who are not in art.
Yes.
That's how we express ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe some art is too difficult to understand, some,
Yeah.
but then we seem to like, nah, it's nothing. And we only value certain art, like maybe orchestra,
Yes.
music, classical music, that are like in the
Those
hall.
fancy events.
And maybe you say like theater performance. Now in Malaysia, what is the most famous? Musical. What about experimental theater?
Yeah.
What about those bangsawan? Those are cultures that have been like left behind.
Yes.
But then people will always say again, to stakeholders,
Mhm.
where is the money? That's where you go.
Yeah. And it's sad as well because it seems that people who study performing arts are even perceived as maybe dumb or stupid, or they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have a choice. That's why they're studying arts.
That's my most furious topic when people say you're actually not bright enough if you take
Right.
art.
Exactly.
Or you're in performing art. I say, what do you mean not bright enough? Like, I will always give them a good example. Dancers.
Yeah.
Do you think those choreography is easily done? Easily choreographed? It need like maybe calculations to it. And also to form, like, for example, a theater performance.
Yeah.
Yes, they need to act, like how to do, and then talk about administration. They need to do the budgeting.
Yeah.
They have to construct those sets, the stage design,
The
lighting
costumes.
design, costume designs. Those require research, and like not bright people cannot do it.
Yeah.
Alright, those people are the brightest, I guess. But people don't see it.
I mean, even if you were to compare it to like Hollywood movies, I guess it pretty much works the same way. You have the script, you have the casting, you have all the directors coming in, and you have to think about how to visualize the story on screen or on stage, and think
But then
about so
it all
many-
come back to the
yeah.
one we were saying in the earlier sessions, which is recognition.
True.
Hollywood recognize it as a industry.
Right.
We here, we only recognize being a doctor, being a engineer, lawyer,
teacher.
That's about it. Art, you will be like left behind. Imagine if they say art is one of the driving force of the country.
Yeah.
And there is this funding allocated for this and this and this and so on. I think all art people in Malaysia will like run for it.
Fight for it. Yeah.
But then the government is doing it, but they make it as a loan. Art people, like, how do you value art? Let's say if I borrowed money, the creative loan, for example, and then if my performance, I know it's good and everything, but I'm not making money, so what happened?
Yeah.
I still have to pay back. And if I cannot pay, I'll declare myself bankruptcy.
Yep.
And then how am I going to generate more income after that? So we are not helping each other.
Okay. And speaking of that as well, what about when it comes to valuing art itself? Is there a way to do it? Is there a mechanism, a structure in where we can actually know the value?
Okay, not as I know in Malaysia, but in UK they have one, but they only use it for public art.
Okay.
So it's actually a tool called IXIA, IXIA.
Okay.
IXIA Evaluation Matrix by a think tank in UK.
Right.
So
a think tank for arts.
Yes, think tank for arts.
That's new.
So they created this matrix that value from production, from the idea stage, and then until they construct the whole thing, and then how they maintain it.
Right.
And then they have those stakeholders that involve everything, and there is what we call points given to it and everything. But the result coming out of it is what we call that qualitative result. So when I did my master research, I actually took the similar matrix to implement, because my topic is about public arts and sustainability, and we need to have tools to it. So I use that tool, but I tweaked the matrix a little bit, and it become quantifiable.
Okay.
Stakeholders want to see numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's about it. So I implemented that and went to Chicago and did, I think, more than 20 public art pieces, and we used the tools to evaluate it.
Oh, okay.
The result, there are some which is a good one, some which is not good one, because there is more than 10,000 art pieces in Chicago.
Okay.
It's the counting.
Right.
And one thing the government initiative there is they have a city curator curating those public art.
Okay.
I don't think we have a city curator. We have gallery curator, but we don't have a city curator. And I actually wanted to do an experiment on my PhD using the tools to see how, like, we have quite numbers of public art installation coming. Section 7 in Shah Alam we have that. Penang we definitely have it.
Yes.
And then I think in what we call that, the one in Damansara, Monkera, they have those. And then upcoming Sohos,
right,
they have those art installation as being, is it just for beautifying or actually serve a purpose?
Right. But I'm curious to know, when you took the metrics down to Chicago and you tried to evaluate all this public art, did you agree with the outcome of the metrics? Did you agree with the numbers, or did you have a different perception?
Because the form that I use, I give it to the public to fill up.
Okay.
And see how the feedback comes. But I only took the impact matrix, because I cannot do how they're processing it, so I only get the impact. Like they will say the impact matrix, they have topics such as cleanliness, maintenance, and those, and then they have points to it.
Okay.
So the public will fill up, is just the art installed here, it's clean, then they will see it, because that particular section is actually to evaluate the organization who installed it, whether they're doing the maintenance or not.
Okay.
So
it's evaluating a few things at once as well, not just the installation.
The matrix is actually a huge matrix, and I guess it works in the UK because it's used in all the public art.
Okay.
The think tank the government actually use their tools to do it.
That's very interesting. I hope you bring it to Malaysia soon enough, so we can.
Finger crossing. Next year when I start my PhD.
Right. And let's move on to, since we have discussed about the perception about arts and how art is valued, maybe you can also explain to us how we can use art as a way to improve lives and probably even build a local Malaysian identity. How does art come in when we talk about these things?
Art cannot separate from culture. Art shapes the culture,
Yeah.
and culture is what the people is. Correct. So an art form that it's, how to say,
What is that?
what is the question, your tune just now again, like how it's
How art can be used to improve lives and also help to build like a pride in the
True.
country.
it become an identity.
Yes.
Okay. Just like become identity, I can say one thing. Maybe you can take Penang for example. The Heritage Row
Yeah.
that has been there.
Yeah.
Those buildings are colonial buildings.
Yes.
Correct. It has been a huge debate this one time. Why we revive all these colonial buildings and so on and so forth. My point is, you shouldn't forget your past.
Yeah.
It's true that we've been colonized, but you see how Penang is doing it? They put local businesses inside it. They have local gallery inside it,
Yeah.
but using the beautiful of the buildings, so they combine the elements. And I think Penang people are really proud of that area. So, like for example, in KL, which part that do you think you feel proud about? Section 7 is trying to be it.
Okay.
The Section 7 in Shah,
Inshallah.
they're trying to be the Lamasari area, trying to
Okay.
be one of it.
All right.
But I guess they fail because of the artwork they put in there.
Okay.
We have to be selective as well.
Right.
Some, because I think the installation in Penang created a big fuss before, invading public wall.
Yeah. That too.
Right.
A
And
huge
then because it's not
controversy.
government project, so government don't care about cleaning it,
Yeah.
and it become an eyesore
Yeah.
eventually. But there is a way to make it better. So one thing I can see that it's already built there. Government, for example, the government, it's already built there. Celebrate it. Make it nice. Guide it properly. Put a label to it so that tourists know who installed this,
Right.
and so on and so forth. And then the local will say, because it brings businesses to those locals.
Yeah.
People are swarming to take pictures with that.
Yeah.
So the shops around it should actually, instead of saying that's an eyesore, celebrate as well.
Yeah, and learn
Create
how
materials
to
out of it.
Exactly.
And so on and so forth. And it become a, what we call that, identity eventually. So like now, I guess we are heading towards that direction actually. But we still haven't find the correct door. We're
Right.
still knocking doors.
Okay. To see waiting for the right one to open
And I don't believe waiting for the right one. I believe to go to every door.
and just open. keep
Just open.
opening. Okay. Right. And moving on to my final question. What can be done, maybe from three aspects, the artists, the audience, and the policymakers, in order to improve the current local art scene in KL or in Malaysia?
In KL and Malaysia, we all have to sit down. We all have to sit down in maybe a conference or a, what we call it, colloquiums or anything. We have to sit down, we have to discuss it over, and then we have to see what is the benefit for all parties.
Right.
Because I always believe in the concept, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You help me,
Yeah.
I help you. So you want like artists, you want the government to help you, you help them. Again, government, you want to gain support from the people, you help them.
Right.
So it's always benefit of both. And all these creative discussions and everything, it have to be documented.
Right.
And action have to be taken. Don't just talk and no doing. So all this while, like we went, like the one I recently went, which is about art. It's sort of a conference as well
Yeah.
for talking arts and talking on Asian art.
Yes.
But then what is next?
Right.
Of all the topics that we discussed during the conference, what is next?
Yeah.
I actually asked the organizer, what is the next?
Okay.
And they said, well, we are developing the websites and so on, but what else?
Waiting for it.
What else happened?
Right.
You have been doing the conference for 4 times. What is the outcome out of the first one?
I guess what
Second
you
one.
want to see is a follow-up and
Yes,
see
follow-ups.
a
You put the
set of
milestone.
actions.
You put up the milestones.
Yes.
You put up the objective. How do you achieve those milestones? Do you charted all those milestones? I think all is just beautiful on the paper only.
Yeah.
No action. Then
Right.
we always back to square one.
Yeah.
I was like on discussion with my colleague today. She
Mhm.
told me the topics you're going to talk with Durian ASEAN, me as art people, almost 40 years.
Mm.
Same thing.
Yeah.
The topic you want to talk, it has been talked already.
Yeah.
I said, well, if I stop talking, nobody will know about it anymore.
Mhm.
Eventually we'll go waste.
That's true.
So it need people like us.
To keep
spark it up.
reminding everyone
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we cannot be the one that move it,
Mhm.
but we can be the one who speak it out.
Yeah.
Make people know about
Be
it.
the catalyst behind
True.
it. Yeah. So that will be all for our discussion today. Thank you so much, Azroz, for coming in
Thank
and
you for
sharing your
inviting.
views. Right.
Very interesting topics.